A poor woman fell for a princess in a forbidden romance. The rain-slick streets of Brooklyn gleamed under the first hesitant rays of dawn, like shattered glass begging to be pieced back together. Elena Vargas wiped the fog from the window of her tiny coffee shop, the bitter bean, her callous fingers leaving faint smudges on the glass. At 25, she was all sharp edges and quiet fire, a barista by day, a struggling painter by the stolen hours of night. Her apartment above the shop smelled of turpentine and yesterday's espresso grounds, a scent that clung to her skin like an old regret. She sighed, a soft exhale that fogged the pain again, watching the city wake up slow and grumpy. That's when she saw her. Across the street, stepping out of a sleek black SUV that screamed money louder than a tabloid headline, was a woman who looked like she'd been carved from marble and moonlight. Blonde hair caught the light in waves, falling just so over shoulders, draped in a coat that probably cost more than Elena's yearly rent. She was young, maybe 22, with eyes like storm-tossed seas, blue and endless. But it was the way she moved, hesitant yet graceful, like she was afraid the pavement might crack under her heels, that hooked Elena right in the gut. The woman, Princess Amelia Harrington, though Elena didn't know that yet, had slipped away from her entourage in the dead of night, craving the anonymity of New York's underbelly. Royal tours were all stiff smiles and scripted waves, but Brooklyn? It was chaos she could breathe in, raw and unfiltered. Her security detail hovered at a distance, shadows in the mist, but for this moment she was just Mia, a girl with the knot in her chest tighter than the crown she was born to wear. Elena pushed open the door, the bell jingling like a half-hearted warning. "Morning," she called, voice rough from lack of sleep. "What'll it be?" "Black coffee to chase the rain away." Mia turned, startled, her lips parting in a small gasp. Up close, she was even more disarming, freckles dusting her nose like secrets, a faint flush creeping up her neck. "Something warm," she said, her British accent curling around the words like smoke. "Surprise me." Elena grinned, the kind that crinkled her eyes and showed the dimple she'd always hated. Dangerous game in a place like this. She busied herself at the espresso machine, the hiss and gurgle filling the silence, steam curling up like whispered confessions. As she handed over the cup, a perfect latte with a foam heart swirled on top, their fingers brushed. Electric. A spark that jumped from skin to skin, leaving Elena's breath catching in her throat. Mia's eyes locked on hers, widening just a fraction. "Thank you," she murmured, holding the gaze a beat too long. The air between them thickened, heavy with the scent of fresh grounds and something sweeter, unspoken. Elena felt it then, the pull like gravity shifting under her feet. A poor girl from the Bronx scraping by on tips and dreams, and this stranger who looked like she'd stepped out of a fairy tale. But fairy tales had thorns, and Elena could already feel them pricking. They talked, or rather Mia asked questions while Elena poured out pieces of herself without meaning to. "You paint," Mia said, spotting the canvas half hidden behind the counter. "A stormy cityscape in oils, all jagged lines and bruised colors." "Yeah," Elena replied, shrugging like it was nothing. "Keeps the demons quiet." Her voice dropped, laced with that husky edge from too many late nights. Mia leaned in, inhaling the faint trace of paint on Elena's sleeve, her own heart thudding against her ribs like a caged bird. By the time the sun crested fully, painting the shop in honeyed light, Mia had to go. I'll be back," she promised, scribbling a number on a napkin. Not her real one, but close enough. Elena watched her slip into the SUV, the door closing with a soft thud that echoed like a door slamming on possibility. That night, alone in her loft, Elena stared at the napkin, thumb tracing the ink. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "That latte saved my morning. Coffee tomorrow?" She smiled, a real one that hurt her cheeks. But deep down in the quiet where doubts festered, she wondered, what happens when a girl like me falls for someone who shines too bright? The answer came swift and sharp. You burn. Days blurred into a secret rhythm. Mornings at the Bitter Bean turned into stolen afternoons in Prospect Park, where the leaves rustled like conspirators overhead. Mia would arrive incognito, sunglasses, baseball cap pulled low, laughing as Elena teased her about looking like a spy in a bad movie. If only, Mia would say, her voice dropping to that velvety whisper that sent shivers down Elena's spine. They'd sit on a weathered bench, knees brushing accidentally on purpose, sharing stories over takeout falafel that Mia devoured like it was caviar. Elena opened up first, words spilling like paint on canvas. Grew up in the Bronx, my mom worked 2 jobs, dad split when I was 6. Art was my escape, you know? The one thing that didn't demand rent. Her laugh was bitter, edged with the scrape of old wounds. Mia listened, really listened, her hand finding Elena's under the table, fingers lacing together with a gentleness that made Elena's chest ache. "You're incredible," Mia breathed one afternoon, as they wandered the park's winding paths, the air thick with the earthy scent of damp soil and distant hot dog vendors. "The way you see the world. It's like fire." Her eyes, those blue depths, held Elena's with an intensity that bordered on desperation. Elena felt exposed, raw, like Mia was peeling back layers she hadn't known were there. But Mia held back too, her smiles flickering like candle flames in wind. "Family expectations," she'd say vaguely when Elena pressed, waving it off with a sip of stolen coffee. "You wouldn't understand." Elena did, though, in her own way. The weight of worlds you didn't choose. One evening, as twilight bled purple across the sky, they kissed. It was inevitable, building like thunder in the distance. Under the canopy of an old oak, bark rough against Elena's back, Mia's lips met hers, soft at first, tentative, then hungry. Elena tasted salt. Tears? Rain? Didn't matter. Her hands tangled in Mia's hair, inhaling the faint jasmine of her perfume mixed with the park's green tang. Mia sighed into the kiss, a sound so vulnerable it cracked something open in Elena's heart. Breaths mingled, ragged and real, the world narrowing to the press of bodies, the faint rustle of leaves applauding their rebellion. "I shouldn't," Mia whispered after, forehead pressed to Elena's, her voice trembling like a violin string plucked too hard. "But God, I can't stop." Elena cupped her face, thumbs brushing away a stray tear. "Then don't." Simple words, heavy as anchors. In that moment, with the city humming around them like a distant lullaby, Elena fell hard, irrevocable. A poor woman tumbling into a princess's orbit, blind to the shadows closing in. The calls started, subtle. A missed text here, a hurried excuse there. Mia's tour schedule tightened, her father's voice, cold as crown jewels, echoing in her ear during late-night video calls. "Remember who you are, Amelia. The Harrington name isn't for dalliances." Elena felt the shift, a chill seeping into their warmth like winter sneaking through cracks. But she pushed it down, buried it under sketches of Mia's profile, lines fierce and tender on paper yellowed by time. Weeks in, the storm broke. Elena was closing up shop, the clang of the register drawer like a gunshot in the quiet, when Mia burst in, soaked from a sudden downpour, eyes wild. "I have to tell you," she gasped, water dripping from her lashes onto the worn floorboards. Elena froze, rag in hand, the scent of rain and fear sharp in her nostrils. You're a princess." The words hung there, absurd, a punchline to a joke Elena hadn't heard. Mia nodded, peeling off her cap, blonde hair tumbling free like a confession. "Amelia Harrington, heir to the British throne, or whatever fairy tale nonsense they spin." Her laugh was hollow, cracking at the edges. Elena's world tilted, the counter digging into her palms. "Why didn't you?" "Because then you'd run," Mia cut in, voice breaking on a sob. She stepped closer, the space between them electric again, charged with hurt. "Or I'd have to. It's impossible. My life is scripted, Elena. Marriage is arranged like chess moves. But you're the first real thing I've touched." Elena reached out, fingers grazing Mia's cheek, cold and slick. The touch ignited, pulling them together in a crush of lips and desperation, rain pooling at their feet. Mia's hands fisted in Elena's shirt, a whimper escaping as she pressed closer, bodies aligning like puzzle pieces forged in fire. The kiss tasted of salt water and storm, Elena's heart pounding a frantic rhythm against Mia's. When they broke apart, gasping, Elena's voice was steel wrapped in silk. "Impossible's just a word. We'll rewrite it." But as Mia left that night, security shadows swallowing her into the dark, Elena slid down the wall, knees to chest, the echo of the bell mocking her. Love like this? It didn't just burn, it consumed. The palace, well, the rented penthouse suite at the plaza, all marble floors and crystal chandeliers, felt like a gilded cage to Mia. She paced the balcony overlooking Central Park, the city's hum a mocking symphony below. Dawn painted the horizon pink, but her thoughts were storm clouds dark and roiling. Elena's face haunted her. Those hazel eyes, fierce with a love that demanded nothing yet gave everything. Mia's fingers still tingled from their last touch, a ghost sensation that made her shiver in the crisp air. Her phone buzzed, Lady Eleanor, her ever-vigilant aide, with the itinerary for the day. Charity gala, press junket, a casual meet with eligible European suitors. Mia's stomach twisted, bile rising like regret. She typed a quick reply, running late. Coffee run. It was a lie, bold and reckless, but the bitter bean called like a siren's song. Elena was behind the counter when she arrived, sleeves rolled up, forearms dusted with flour from morning scones. The shop smelled of cinnamon and fresh brew, a balm against the chill clinging to Mia's coat. Your Highness, Elena teased, voice low and laced with that Bronx grit, sliding a to-go cup across the scarred wood. Her eyes, though they searched, probing the cracks Mia tried to hide. Stop that, Mia murmured, but she smiled, leaning in to steal a quick kiss over the counter, the brush of lips soft as a promise. Elena's hand cupped her neck, thumb stroking the pulse point, drawing a sigh from deep in Mia's chest. The world faded, the clatter of mugs, the distant honk of taxis, until it was just them, suspended in steam and stolen time. They escaped to the rooftop of Elena's building that afternoon, a fire escape patched with duct tape and dreams. The view was pure Brooklyn. Graffiti-splashed walls, laundry lines flapping like flags of surrender. Elena spread a threadbare blanket, unpacking a picnic of cheese and crackers pilfered from the shop, a bottle of cheap red wine that tasted like rebellion. To us, she toasted, clinking plastic cups, her laugh rumbling warm against the autumn breeze. Mia sipped, the tang sharp on her tongue, and let the words tumble out. My father's furious. The tabloids are sniffing. Princess plays hooky in the hood. She air-quoted, voice dripping sarcasm, but her eyes were liquid brimming. Elena set her cup down, shifting closer, the blanket whispering under her knees. Hey, Elena said softly, tilting Mia's chin up with a finger, calluses rough against smooth skin. Screw the headlines. You're here. With me. She kissed her then, slow and deliberate, lips parting to deepen the connection, tongues tracing lazy paths that sent heat pooling low in Mia's belly. Elena's hands roamed, mapping the curve of Mia's waist, the dip of her spine, eliciting soft gasps that mingled with the distant wail of sirens. They made love there, under a sky turning bruised purple, bodies entwining with the urgency born of borrowed time. Mia arched into Elena's touch, nails digging into shoulders as waves built and crashed. Her cries muffled against Elena's neck, raw, unfiltered sounds of surrender. Elena whispered endearments in the afterglow, breath hot against Mia's ear. You're mine, crown or no. The words wrapped around Mia like armor, fragile but fierce. But reality intruded, as it always did. A call from Eleanor. Your Highness, the car. Now. Mia dressed in haste, fingers fumbling buttons, while Elena watched from the blanket, expression unreadable. Come back tonight? Mia pleaded at the door, the fire escape creaking under her weight. Always, Elena promised, but her voice held a shadow, the first hint of fracture. That night the gala was a whirlwind of silk gowns and false smiles. Mia glided through the crowd, arm linked with a bland duke whose cologne reeked of entitlement. Flashbulbs popped like gunfire, questions hurled. Princess, any special someone stateside? She laughed it off, but inside Elena's face flashed, gritty real, making the chandeliers feel like spotlights on a lie. Back in her suite, alone with the hum of the mini-fridge, Mia scrolled through photos on her burner phone. Elena laughing mid-bite, paint smudged on her cheek, their hands intertwined on that bench. Tears blurred the screen. She texted, "Miss you. This world feels wrong without your chaos." Elena's reply came swift. "Then burn it down. For us." Emboldened, Mia planned their escape. A weekend in the Hamptons, Eleanor's beach house, empty for the season. "No security," she told Elena over a clandestine call, voice hushed in the palace's echoing halls. "Just you, me, and the ocean." Elena's whoop echoed through the line, pure joy that made Mia's heart swell. "Pack your paints. I'll show you how to make waves on canvas." The drive was a blur of stolen glances and wandering hands, Elena at the wheel of her beat-up Honda, radio blasting indie folk that spoke of lost loves and found homes. They arrived at dusk, the house a weathered shingle clinging to dunes, salt air thick with promise. Inside, it smelled of old books and sea glass, floorboards groaning like contented sighs. They cooked, badly, pasta boiling over while they kissed against the counter, laughter bubbling up between breaths. Elena's hands flour-dusted, traced patterns on Mia's arms, drawing shivers. "Your art," Elena murmured, nipping at her earlobe, voice husky with want. Mia melted, pulling her toward the bedroom, where moonlight slanted through gauzy curtains. Their lovemaking was slower this time, exploratory. Fingers learning contours, lips mapping scars both seen and unseen. Mia traced the faint tattoo on Elena's hip, a rose with thorns, inked in a moment of teenage defiance, and kissed it reverent. Elena's gasps filled the room, ragged and real, building to a crescendo that left them tangled in sheets, sweat slick and spent. "I love you," Mia whispered into the dark, the words heavy as oaths. Elena stiffened just a fraction before pulling her closer. "Love you too, princess." But in the quiet, with waves crashing like warnings outside, Elena's mind raced. This bliss, it was a bubble thin and iridescent. How long before it burst? The next morning dawned soft, fog rolling in off the Atlantic like a lover's breath. They walked the beach barefoot, toes sinking into cool sand, collecting shells that clinked in Mia's palm like treasures. Elena sketched Mia against the surf, charcoal flying across paper, capturing the wind-tossed hair, the curve of her smile. "See," she said, holding it up. "You're eternal." Mia's throat tightened. "Take me with you then. Away from all this." Elena's pencil paused, eyes darkening. "You know I can't." "Not yet." She set the sketch aside, drawing Mia into an embrace, the ocean's roar drowning their sighs. But the tide pulled at more than sand. It tugged at the edges of their world, relentless. Back in the city, the leak hit like a tidal wave. A blurry photo, them on the fire escape, lips locked, splashed across every screen. "Princess in passionate tryst with mystery woman," screamed the headlines. Mia's phone exploded. Father's rage via encrypted line. Paparazzi swarming the plaza like vultures. Elena saw it first, scrolling in the shop's back room, coffee turning bitter on her tongue. Her hand shook as she dialed. "Mia? What the hell?" "It's out," Mia sobbed, voice muffled from her locked bathroom, water running to cover the sound. "They're coming for you. For us." Elena's world narrowed to the dial tone after Mia hung up, fear coiling cold in her gut. She grabbed her coat, heart hammering. This wasn't just love anymore, it was war. The bitter bean became a fortress under siege. Reporters camped outside, lenses glinting like predator eyes in the midday sun. Elena barricaded the door with a flip sign, closed for inventory, but the whispers seeped through. "That's her. The commoner snagging royalty." She paced the narrow space, the scent of stale grounds turning sour in her nostrils, phone clutched like a lifeline. Mia's last text burned in her mind. "Hide. Please. I'll fix this." "Fix it." Elena's laugh echoed hollow off the walls, ragged at the edges. She slumped onto a stool, head in hands, the faint tremor in her fingers betraying the storm inside. Love had always been her quiet rebellion, splashed on canvases no one bought. But this? It was a blaze, scorching everything in its path. A knock, insistent, coded. 3 raps, pause, 2 more. Elena cracked the door, peering into the alley's dim throat. There stood Mia, hooded sweatshirt swallowing her frame, eyes red-rimmed and shadowed. "Let me in," she pleaded, voice a threadbare whisper. Elena yanked her inside, bolting the door, the click loud as a gunshot. They collided in the tight space, arms wrapping fierce, Mia's face buried in Elena's neck, inhaling the familiar mix of coffee and clay. "I'm sorry," Mia choked, tears soaking Elena's collar. "The photo security slipped. Father's threatening to cut me off, drag me back to London." Elena's hands framed her face, thumbs wiping tears that fell hot and relentless. "Screw him. You're not a pawn." She kissed her fiercely, pouring all the fear and fire into it, lips bruising, tongues clashing like swords. Mia moaned, low and desperate, hands fisting Elena's shirt as she backed her against the counter, the edge biting into Elena's hips. The world outside faded, the shouts of fatigs, the blare of horns, replaced by the rasp of breaths, the soft thuds of bodies seeking solace. They didn't make it upstairs. Right there, amid sacks of beans and half-empty mugs, Elena lifted Mia onto the counter, her cry sharp and sweet as Elena's mouth trailed fire down her throat, nipping at collarbones bared by tugged-aside fabric. Fingers delved, urgent and knowing, drawing gasps that echoed off the tin ceiling. Mia arched, head thrown back, blonde strands spilling like liquid gold, her release crashing over her in waves that left her trembling, Elena's name a prayer on her lips. In the quiet after, wrapped in Elena's arms on the cold floor, Mia traced patterns on Elena's arm. "Run with me," she murmured, voice raw from cries and confessions. "To the countryside. Some cabin where no crowns can reach." Elena's heart stuttered. "And your life?" "The Judys. Damn the Judys." Mia's eyes blazed, fierce as the woman who'd first walked through that door. "I choose you." The plan coalesced over hurried sandwiches in the loft, rain pattering against the window like impatient fingers. Elena's sketchpad became their map. Back roads to the Catskills, a rented cabin under a false name. "Tomorrow night," Elena said, pencil scratching fierce lines. "I'll close early, pack the essentials." Mia's nod was resolute, but doubt flickered in her eyes like distant lightning. As they lay tangled that night, bodies slick and sated from slow, worshipful touches, Elena's lips lingering on the curve of Mia's breast, eliciting shivers and sighs, the air hummed with unspoken fears. The bed creaked under their weight, a lullaby of wood and want, but sleep evaded Elena, her mind replaying headlines like a nightmare loop. Dawn brought no mercy. Elena slipped out for supplies, hood up, weaving through back alleys where the air smelled of garbage and grease. At the corner bodega she froze, a newsstand screaming her face beside Mia's, the kiss immortalized in grainy betrayal. Local artist seduces princess, scandal rocks monarchy. Her stomach lurched, vision blurring. A hand clamped her shoulder, paparazzi grinning like a shark. "Miss Vargas, care to comment on the affair?" She bolted, heart-slamming ribs, dodging into traffic that hunked fury. Back at the shop, she slammed the door, breath heaving, the bells jingle mocking. Mia was there, phone to ear, face ashen. "Father's sending a jet. Tonight." "No." Elena's voice cracked, stepping close, the heat of Mia's body a anchor in the spin. She cupped her cheeks, foreheads touching, breath sinking in ragged harmony. "We leave now." Mia's whisper was a wound. "I can't. Not without facing this." Tears welled, spilling over Elena's thumbs. The kiss that followed was salt and sorrow, slow as a dirge, hands clutching like lifelines. Elena tasted the goodbye neither would say, her own eyes stinging as Mia pulled away, the space between them yawning like an abyss. The confrontation came swift. Security breached the shop at dusk, suits crisp as edicts, Eleanor at the helm with a glare sharp as stilettos. "Your Highness," she intoned, ignoring Elena's glare. "The car." Mia hesitated, eyes locked on Elena's, pleading silent forgiveness. "I love you," she mouthed, then turned, spine straightening into royal steel. The door swung shut behind her, bell tolling like a funeral knell. Elena sank to the floor, the scent of Mia's jasmine lingering like a ghost. Rage boiled up, hot and unbidden. She swept mugs from the shelf, porcelain shattering in explosive catharsis, shards skittering across the floor like broken promises. Sobs racked her, raw and guttural, echoing in the empty space. Alone again, the poor girl from the Bronx, loving too big for her world. But surrender wasn't in her blood. Midnight found her in the loft, packing a bag with fierce efficiency. Paints, canvases, the napkin with Mia's first number, creased and sacred. She booked a bus to nowhere, fingers flying over keys, but paused at a photo, them on the beach, windswept and whole. "Fight for me," she whispered to the empty room, voice stealing. Across town in the jet's leather embrace, Mia stared out at the lights receding, a single tear tracing her cheek. The Engine's drone was a dirge, but her mind replayed Elena's touch, the way her laugh lit shadows. Father's lecture droned on duty, legacy, scandal, but she tuned it out, plotting in the silence. A secret account, funds siphoned slow. Calls to a discreet fixer for forged papers. Rebellion simmered, quiet but unquenchable. Back in Brooklyn, Elena's phone lit up. Unknown number. Not over. Wait for my signal. Your princess. Hope flickered, fragile as a match in wind. She texted back. Always. Then, curling on the bed that still smelled of them, she let exhaustion claim her, dreams weaving escape routes through royal mazes. The days stretched, taut as bowstrings. Elena reopened the shop, face a mask of indifference, but inside, she frayed nights spent painting Mia's likeness, strokes furious and tender, the canvas weeping colors of longing. Customers whispered, but she poured their orders with steady hands, the hiss of the steamer a mantra. Hold on. Mia's signals came in fragments. A burner phone delivered by courier, cryptic texts like breadcrumbs. Enduring the storm. Planning our harbor. Elena clung to them, reading between lines, her heart a compass pointing north to Mia. Then the call, Eleanor's voice, clipped and urgent. Meet at the bridge. Midnight. Come alone. Elena's pulse thundered. Trap? Salvation? She didn't care. Bundling into her jacket, the night air bit cold as she slipped out, streets slick with recent rain, puddles reflecting neon like fractured jewels. The bridge loomed, iron bones arched over dark water, fog curling like specters. Footsteps echoed, hers then another's. Mia emerged from shadows, coat billowing, eyes alight with desperate fire. I bribed Eleanor, she gasped, closing the distance. 2 days. Then we vanish. Their embrace was collision, lips crashing, hands roaming with starved urgency, the metal railing cold against Elena's back as Mia pressed in, thighs slotting between hers, drawing a gasp that fogged the air. The kiss deepened, tongues tangling in a dance of defiance, Mia's fingers slipping under Elena's shirt, nails grazing skin in electric trails. Breaths hitched, bodies grinding in rhythm with the distant pulse of the city, release building swift and shattering, Mia's whimper swallowed by Elena's mouth. Panting, foreheads pressed, Mia whispered. 48 hours. Pack light. Elena nodded, chest heaving, the world sharp and alive. But as they parted, a shadow stirred. Paparazzi flash, blinding. Run. Elena shoved Mia toward the waiting car. Diving into alley gloom herself, heart-pounding terror. The photo hit by morning. Lover's last stand? Princess flees with flame. Elena holed up, blinds drawn, the shop a tomb. Mia's text safe. But closer now. Hold. The noose tightened, but so did their resolve. Love, forged in fire, bending but unbroken. The Catskills cabin was a relic, tucked deep in pine-shadowed hollows where cell service flickered like a dying pulse. Elena arrived first, the gravel crunching under her tires like brittle bones, the air thick with resin and regret. She'd driven through the night, radio silent save for the occasional crackle of static, her mind a whirlwind of what-ifs. The key, left under a flower pot as promised, turned with a groan, unlocking a space that smelled of dust and forgotten summers, wood paneling yellowed by time, a stone fireplace yawning like an open mouth. She unpacked methodically. Canvases stacked against the wall, paints arrayed on a scarred table, Mia's napkin tucked into her pocket like a talisman. The bed was a tangle of quilts, soft and inviting, but Elena paced instead, boots thudding on creaky floors, the wind whistling through cracks like accusatory whispers. 30 hours. That's all they had before the world caught up. Sleep came fitful dreams laced with chases. Paparazzi hounds baying. Mia's hand slipping from hers into abyssal dark. She woke sweat damp, dawn's gray light seeping through grimy windows, and brewed coffee strong enough to strip paint. The percolator's gurgle a poor substitute for Mia's laugh. The knock came at noon, soft but insistent. Elena flung open the door, and there she was, Mia travel-worn in jeans and a hoodie, duffel slung over shoulder, eyes shadowed but sparking. No entourage, no crown, just a girl breathless from the hike up the trail. "I walked the last mile," she panted, dropping the bag, arms opening. "To be sure." Elena pulled her over the threshold, the door slamming shut like a vow. Their kiss was homecoming, deep, unhurried. Mia's back against the wood as Elena's hands framed her face, thumbs tracing jawlines sharp with exhaustion. Mia sighed into it, a sound of pure release, her fingers threading Elena's hair, tugging gently to angle deeper. Tongues met slow, exploratory, tasting of road dust and desperate want, bodies pressing flush until the world blurred to heat and heartbeat. They barely made it to the couch, shedding layers in a trail of fabric whispers. Hoodie pooling on the rug, shirt buttons popping free. Elena knelt between Mia's thighs, lips trailing fire down her sternum, eliciting shivers and soft pleas. "Elena!" The name was a gasp, breath hitching as Elena's mouth found peak and peak, tongue swirling in worship, hands gripping hips to steady the arch. Mia's release built like thunder, crashing in cries that echoed off the rafters, body trembling as Elena held her through the waves, kissing away tears of overwhelm. In the afterglow, wrapped in a quilt by the fire, Elena coaxed to life. Crackles and pops filling the hush, they shared stories like rations. Mia spoke of palace nights, cold and echoing, her mother's ghost in every gilded frame. She loved once wildly, Mia confessed, voice soft as ash. Scandal buried it. "I won't let that be us." Elena nodded, stoking the flames, sparks dancing like defiant stars. "My mom's still in the Bronx, waiting for me to make it. This? Us? It's my masterpiece." She sketched then by firelight, Mia's profile etched in charcoal shadows, the scratch of pencil a lullaby. Nights blurred into idyll. Mornings of pancakes burned at the edges, laughter bubbling as syrup dripped sticky fingers, licked clean in kisses that led to counters and floors. Afternoons hiking trails where leaves crunched underfoot, hands linked, the forest's green hush broken only by birdsong and shared breaths. Elena taught Mia to paint, splashes of ochre and ultramarine on bark, Mia's hands smeared, her joy childlike and free. "Look at the mess we make," Mia giggled, pressing a paint-streaked kiss to Elena's cheek, the color blooming like a bruise. Evenings by the fire, wine loosening tongues, they dreamed aloud. A life in some coastal town, Elena's gallery, Mia's advocacy work unyoked from thrones. But undercurrents pulled. Mia's phone, smashed but for emergencies, buzzed once with a blocked warning. Return or renounce. She silenced it, curling tighter into Elena, but the chill lingered. The crack came on the second night. Storm winds howled, rain lashing windows like judgment, thunder rumbling threats. They made love fierce against it. Bodies slick with sweat, Elena's fingers curling inside Mia, drawing moans that drowned the gale, hips bucking in counterpoint to lightning flashes. Mia's nails raked Elena's back, leaving red trails of possession, her climax a scream swallowed by the roar outside. Panting, entwined, Elena whispered, "We're stronger than this." But dawn brought the fracture. Mia's bag was half-packed when Elena stirred, the sight a knife twist. "What?" "I got a call," Mia said, voice cracking, eyes averted to the floorboard's grain. "Eleanor. Father's ill, heart scare. I have to go." Lies? Truth? The border blurred in Elena's vision, hot with unshed tears. "Bullshit." Elena spat, rising, the quilt pooling like spilled blood. "He's leveraging you. Again." She stepped close, hands on Mia's arms, feeling the tremble beneath silk skin. "Stay. Fight from here." Mia's sob broke free, wrenching. "I can't abandon him. Not like this." She collapsed into Elena, the embrace crushing, sobs muffled against shoulder, Elena's shirt dampening. Rocking her, Elena murmured nonsense comforts. "Sure, breathe, I've got you." But inside, fury coiled, a serpent in the gut. They parted at the door, rain a curtain between. Mia's kiss was farewell, lingering, lips swollen from night's passions, tasting of salt and sorrow. I'll come back, she vowed, eyes fierce through tears. Write our story. Make it immortal. Elena watched the taillights fade down the muddy drive, the engine's growl fading to wind-whipped silence. Alone she slid down the wall, gravel biting palms, a howl tearing from her throat, primal echoing the storm's rage. The cabin, once sanctuary, closed in, walls whispering defeat. Back in the city, Elena threw herself into work, the shop a whirlwind of orders and avoidance, smiles plastered thin as skim milk, canvases piled, abstracts of blues and golds, fractured royals and urban grit. A gallery scout noticed, murmuring raw emotion, but Elena heard only echoes of Mia's voice. Mia's return to London was pageantry and pain, Buckingham's chill halls swallowing her, father's frail hand in hers a chain. Wise choice, darling, he rasped, but his eyes held steel. She nodded, mute, mind adrift to Brooklyn's warmth. Secret emails flew. Miss your chaos. Planning extraction. Elena's replies. Painted us today. Thorns and all. Attachments of fiery portraits, Mia's face alive in strokes. The scandal simmered, tabloids feasting on rumors. Princess's Yankee heartbreak. Over? Elena dodged interviews, but one night, cornered by a reporter in the alley, she snapped. Love isn't a headline. It's the quiet that kills you. The quote went viral, Elena's face, defiant, tear-streaked, plastered beside Mia's. In palaces, Mia saw it, heart-clenching. She penned a letter smuggled via Eleanor. Your words, my armor. Soon. Folded into it a sapphire ring, simple heirloom for when we rewrite the ending. Elena's fingers traced the gem. Cold fire against skin. Hope reignited, but so did fear. The clock ticking, empire's closing ranks. Then the ultimatum. A royal decree leaked. Mia to wed a duke by spring. Alliance sealing fractures. Elena's world grayed, the shop's bell mocking each empty hour. She packed again, this time for confrontation. Bus ticket to Heathrow burning a hole. But Mia moved first. A press conference scripted derailed mid-sentence. I won't marry for duty. Gasps rippled, cameras flashing frenzy. Off stage to Eleanor. Get me to her. Now. The flight was turbulence incarnate. Mia white-knuckled, heart in throat. Elena waited at JFK, sign scrawled. Princess or pauper mine. The hug at arrivals was tidal, bodies crashing, tears mingling, the crowd's roar distant hum. We did it, Mia breathed, lips brushing Elena's in defiant claim. But whispers followed. Security closing in, father's jet inbound. To the safe house, a friend's loft in Queens. Racing through tunnels that thrummed like veins. There in dim light they claimed victory. Clothes shed in haste, Elena's mouth hot on Mia's core. Tongue delving deep, drawing cries that shook the walls. Mia shattered, fingers twisted in sheets. Elena's name a litany. Dawn found them plotting permanence. Visas, galleries, a life unscripted. But knocks hammered. Agents at the door, voices stern. Your Highness. Mia's grip tightened on Elena's hand. Not anymore. The door opened to chaos, but their eyes locked, unbreakable. The safe house standoff stretched into eternity. Minutes bloating under fluorescent buzz. Agents in crisp suits filled the doorway. Eleanor hovering like a reluctant specter. Her face a mask of conflicted duty. Amelia, she urged, voice low. Your father's plane lands in hours. Come home. This folly ends now. Mia stood tall, Elena's hand warm anchor in hers, the ring glinting on her finger like a dare. Folly? She echoed, laugh brittle as autumn leaves. This is truth, Eleanor. The first I've known. Her voice cracked on the edges, eyes, those royal blues, fierce with a fire no scepter could quench. Elena squeezed her hand, stepping forward, chin lifted in Bronx-bred defiance. She's not going anywhere without me. The words hung bold graffiti on palace walls, drawing stares. An agent shifted, radio crackling static demands, but Mia's glare pinned them, inherited steel bending the room. Eleanor sighed, a sound heavy with years of secrets. You have one day. I'll stall. She glanced at Elena, appraising, then softer. Take care of her. The door clicked shut, leaving silence thick as fog. They collapsed onto the lumpy couch, breath sinking in ragged harmony, Mia's head on Elena's shoulder, the loft's stale air laced with takeout grease and tension. That was close, Mia murmured, fingers tracing Elena's knuckles, the touch grounding as earth. Too close. Elena tilted her chin, capturing lips in a kiss soft as absolution. Noses brushing, breaths mingling warm, tongues tentative then bold. A slow burn that eased the knot in their chests. Mia shifted, straddling Elena's lap, hands roaming under shirt to map ribs and curves, eliciting a low groan that vibrated between them. Fabric whispered away, skin to skin, Mia's mouth trailing nips down throat to breast, suckling gentle until Elena arched, gasp sharp in the quiet. Fingers found heat, circling deliberate, building to shudders that left Mia whispering yes, love, yes against sweat-damp collarbone. After, tangled and sated, they plotted by lamplight. Maps unrolled on the coffee table, scribbled with escape routes. Canada border, then west to Vancouver's rain-swept anonymity. Art scenes booming, Elena said, pencil sketching a quick skyline, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. You could consult, human rights quiet. Mia's smile was tentative dawn. Away from the glare. Us. But shadows lingered in her eyes, the weight of abdication's echo. The day blurred in frenzy. Fake IDs procured via underground contacts, bags packed light, Elena's paints, Mia's few jewels pawned for cash. They slipped out at dusk, weaving through Queens' bustling veins, bodegas humming with salsa rhythms, street vendors hawking falafel that they devoured hot and spiced, grease on fingers licked in stolen moments. Laughter bubbled, fragile but real, Mia's head on Elena's shoulder in the rattling subway car, the sway lulling like a promise. Border crossing was midnight roulette. A nondescript sedan borrowed from a sympathetic cabbie, rain-sheeting windshield as they hugged 87 North. Elena drove, knuckles white on wheel, wipers slashing frantic arcs. Mia's hand on her thigh was talisman, thumb stroking denim in soothing circles. Tell me a story, Mia whispered, voice small against the engine's growl. Elena glanced over, hazel eyes catching dash glow. Once, a girl with paint-stained hands met a runaway royal under rainy skies. They fought dragons, cameras, kings, and won a kingdom of their own. Her words wove magic, Mia's sigh content, head lolling as sleep claimed her, blonde strands fanning like a crown undone. Customs loomed at dawn, the booth amaw under sodium lights. Elena's heart hammered, forged papers sweating in her grip. Tourists, she lied smooth, accent dialed neutral, Mia nodding beside, cap low. The guard's gaze lingered too long. Then stamped, welcome to Canada. Relief crashed, laughter spilling as they accelerated into Adirondack wilds, pines blurring green welcome. Vancouver welcomed with drizzle kiss, the city a mosaic of glass spires and harbor mist. They rented a studio flat in Gastown, cobblestones and steam clocks, air-brined with sea and possibility. Unpacking was ritual. Elena's easel by the window overlooking Burrard Inlet, Mia's books stacked on crates, the bed a nest of thrift store linens. First night they christened it slow, candles flickering, Elena's tongue tracing spine's curve, Mia's moans rising with the tide outside. Bodies undulating in waves that peaked in shared cries, limbs entwined like roots. Life settled, tentative as new paint on canvas. Elena's art took root. A local gallery show, her Royal Renegades series drawing murmurs. Fractured crowns in urban grit, lovers' silhouettes bold against throne shadows. Sales trickled, enough for rent and ramen. Mia beaming from the front row, eyes proud and wet. Mia found footing too, volunteering at a refugee center, her poise channeling into advocacy, voices amplified without fanfare. Evenings they'd walk the seawall, hands linked against chill wind, fairy horns lowing like contented beasts. This is us, Mia would say, leaning into Elena's side, the scent of salt in her jasmine mingling. Kisses by the rail, quick and claiming, drawing smiles from joggers who didn't know the saga. But ghosts lingered. Tabloids trickled north. Exiled princess. New life with lover? Father's letters arrived, sealed wax dripping regret. Come home, child. Forgiveness awaits. Mia burned them in the sink, flames dancing blue. But ashes stained her fingers, a reminder's grit. Cracks spidered subtle. Elena's late nights at the studio, turpentine sharp in the air, left Mia waking alone, sheets cold. Miss you, she'd murmur into voicemails, voice laced with that old vulnerability. Elena's replies, soon love, capturing our light. But doubt seated, was freedom just another cage, smaller but no less confining? The blow landed midwinter, snow blanketing the city in hush. A knock, Eleanor, unannounced, coat dusted white, face etched with urgency. He's dying, she said flatly, over tea that steamed forgotten. Wants reconciliation. You. Mia's cup clattered, china fracturing like resolve. No. But her eyes, haunted, torn, betrayed the pull. Elena watched from the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, heart of ice. Go if you must, she said later, voice even but fingers twisted in her lap. But come back. The flight east was penance. Mia's window seat a portal to regrets. London swallowed her. Heathrow's roar to palace gates. Father's bed a battlefield of tubes and beeps. My girl, he wheezed, hand frail in hers, eyes pleading. Words poured. Apologies veiled in duty. Legacy's weight lightened by love's admission. Be happy. Truly. She stayed a week, nursing fevers and fractures, but nights found her sketching Elena's face on napkins, lines fierce with longing. Texts flew, he's mending. Leaving tomorrow. Elena's waiting. Always. Return was reunion at the airport. Elena and the arrivals crush, sign now my renegade, grin splitting wide. The hug crushed air from lungs, Mia's face in crook of neck, inhaling paint and home. Home, the word bloomed, taxi ride a blur of kisses stolen in backseats. Hands wandering thighs, driver coughing polite. But the homecoming soured swift. Elena's latest show bombed, critics sneering gimmickry, sales flat. She withdrew, studio a cave of half-finished works. Turpentines bite masking bourbon on breath. Mia tiptoed, words careful. It's one night. You're brilliant. Elena's snap. Brilliant? Or just the princess's pity project? The argument erupted, words shrapnel. You're pulling away, you're the one with secrets. Culminating in slammed doors, Mia fleeing to the seawall, waves crashing fury. Alone, Elena wept. Canvas mocking with Mia's eyes, incomplete. Regret coiled but pride held tongue. Mia's walk circled back to truth. Love wasn't perfection but persistence. Dawn found her at the studio door, key turning soft. I'm sorry, she whispered, arms open. Elena rose, bridge crossed in tears and touches. Lips meeting tentative. Then sure, bodies folding into forgiveness on the dropcloth. Paint smearing skin like war paint. Fingers explored anew, slow and healing. Gasps building to harmony. Release a balm on wounds. Spring thawed more than snow. Elena's art evolved, vulnerable strokes. Shared pains rendered raw. A collector bit. Authentic. Heart-wrenching. Mia's work bloomed too. A TEDx talk on exile and identity. Applause thundering like affirmation. Yet summer brought the test. Father's passing, quiet in sleep. Mia flew solo, funeral a blur of black veils and veiled barbs. Cousins whispering disgrace, but she stood tall, eulogy fierce. He taught duty. I choose love. Ashes scattered on palace grounds, wind carrying whispers of peace. Return to Elena's arms was catharsis. Bodies crashing in the flat, grief transmuted to passion. Mia riding Elena's hips with abandon. Cries echoing off walls, nails scoring back in cathartic trails. Forever, they vowed in afterglow, ring exchanged now twin on fingers. But forever tested in autumn's gales. A rival gallery poached Elena's muse, royal inspired but edgier. Jealousy flickered, Mia's nights at the center stretching. Elena's alone with wine and what-ifs. Fights flared. You're drifting, you're insecure. Distance yawn, beds cold, touches tentative. Winter's Eve crisis peaked. Mia home late, snow-cloaked, to find Elena packing need space. Heart fracturing, Mia blocked the door. Don't. We're worth the work. Words tumbled. Fears aired, vulnerabilities bared like fresh wounds. Elena's dam broke, sobs racking as Mia held her, rocking on the floor, whispers weaving repair. Making up was sacrament, slow undress by firelight, lips tracing scars of doubt, fingers delving deep with reverence, moans a symphony of recommitment. Peaks crested together, bodies shuddering in unison, love reaffirmed in sweat and sighs. Spring's renewal sealed it. Joint exhibit, Elena's crowns cracked open to reveal hearts, Mia's words in pamphlet, forward by the once princess. Crowds swelled, applause a tide lifting. Yet the arc bent toward meaning. Summer's heatwave, a letter arrived, royal seal unbroken. Inheritance on condition of return. Mia burned it unread, but Elena saw the flicker. What if? Mia's choice. We build our own. They did, vows exchanged on the seawall at sunset, witnesses the sea and stars, rings simple gold. Love, they learned, wasn't fairy tale but forge, hammered daily, resilient. Years folded like well-worn pages, Vancouver's rhythm their steady pulse. The studio flat evolved, walls lined with Elena's canvases, a progression from jagged rebellions to luminous harmonies, colors bleeding into shared lives. Mia's bookshelves groaned under advocacy tomes, dog-eared with notes in her looping script. Mornings started tangled in sheets, Elena's lazy kisses trailing Mia's shoulder, eliciting yawns and giggles that dissolved into deeper explorations. Fingers lazy under covers, breaths hitching in the gray light, peaks soft as waking dreams. Elena's gallery thrived, Vargas Visions, a beacon for queer artists, shows pulsing with stories like theirs. Forbidden flames, quiet triumphs. Mia curated panels, her voice, once scripted, now raw thunder amplifying margins. Evenings they'd cook. Paella spice fierce, laughter over singed edges, wine flowing loose as confessions. To us, Elena toasted nightly, clinking glasses, eyes locking with that old spark, dimple flashing. But scars itched in quiet moments. Mia's dreams woke her sometimes, palace echoes cold, father's voice a ghost, duty. She'd slip to the kitchen, tea steaming, Elena following silent, arms encircling from behind, chin on shoulder. Still here, Elena murmured, lips brushing neck, hands sliding under nightshirt to cup breasts gentle, thumbs circling peaks until sighs melted tension, body swaying into slow rhythm against the counter, release a whisper, quiet wave. Anniversaries marked milestones. First kiss under rain, etched in a mural on their wall. Elena's brush, Mia's pose, community unveiling with cheers and confetti. 5th year they adopted Luna. A scruffy rescue mutt, all wagging chaos, her barks filling silences, paws pattering like applause. Challenges came uninvited. Elena's hand cramped midstroke one winter. Doctor's verdict. Repetitive strain, months off canvas. Panic clawed, art her breath now stolen. Mia held vigils, reading aloud from old favorites, fingers massaging knots until Elena relaxed, their nights turning tender. Mia's mouth worshipping Elena's body, tongue tracing thighs to core, drawing gasps that rebuilt confidence stroke by stroke, climax a reaffirmation of worth beyond work. Mia's turn shadowed spring. A rally turned riot, shoves and shouts leaving bruises blooming purple. Elena cleaned wounds with antiseptic sting, tears salting the air. You fight like hell, she whispered, bandaging gentle, then pulling Mia to bed, touches featherlight, kisses on each mark, fingers exploring folds with care, building to shudders that washed away fear, love a poultice on pain. Summer's heat brought news, a documentary offer, from crown to canvas, producers hungry for their tale. Temptation tugged, Mia saw exposure's power, Elena the invasion. Debates stretched over porch beers, fireflies winking judgments. Our story, Mia argued, hand on Elena's knee, could free others. Elena relented, but boundaries ironclad. No palaces revisited, truths unvarnished. Filming was intrusion. Cameras capturing loft laughs, seawall walks, but also raw cuts. Elena's crutch days, Mia's nightmare wakes. Premiere night, theater hushed then erupting, applause crashing like waves. Post-screening, strangers thanks, you gave me courage. Tears stung, hands clasped tight under seats. Autumn deepened bonds. Luna's pups, unexpected litter, filled the flat with yips and warmth, rehomed with care one kept, a wriggler named Echo. Holidays blended traditions. Bronx tamales beside British roast, candles flickering stories of origins merged. Winter solstice, Elena proposed redux, down on one knee by the inlet, ring upgraded with sapphire fleck. Marry me legal. Make it official. Mia's yes was whoop and whirl, lifting Elena and spin. Kisses salt laced from joyful tears. Ceremony small. Beach at dusk, vows etched in sand then rings, witnesses friends in fog. Reception boisterous. Dancing to queer anthems, cake smeared in faces. Night ending in hotel hush, bodies fervent. Elena's straps harnessing Mia's hips, thrusts deep and deliberate. Cries harmonizing with ocean's roar, peaks shattering stars. Life's weave tightened with time's hand. Elena mentored young artists, her cramp a ghost but style evolved, broader strokes, collaborative murals splashed across city walls. Mia's book launched. Thrones of the Heart, memoir raw as vein, bestseller whispering their names without shouting. Aging crept gentle. Silver threading Elena's auburn laugh lines etching Mia's eyes. Grandkids came via chosen family. Nieces painting with Elena, nephews debating with Mia. Flat alive with chaos, stories circling like smoke. Challenges persisted, softer now. Health scares, a biopsy benign but scary. Bound them tighter, hospital waits hand in hand. Post-op nights bodies spooned, touches reaffirming life. Fights flared rare, over smalls like forgotten birthdays, resolved in bed's diplomacy. Apologies murmured against skin, forgiveness in arches and gasps, love's friction sparking deeper connection. Climax crested unbidden. Royal overtures, niece's coronation invite, olive branch gilded. Mia wavered, Elena's support steel. Go. Show them our victory. London was bittersweet. Crowds cheering anti-Mia. Whispers of the scandal faded to legend. Podium speech. Love defies borders, thrones. It's the quiet revolution. Elena watched via stream, pride swelling, tears blurring screen. Return was airport crush, Elena's sign my queen, hug eternal. Home they made slow love. Candles guttering, bodies familiar terrain. Fingers tracing maps of years. Climaxes tender waves lapping shores of forever. Meaning crystallized in twilight years. Retirement loomed, gallery passed to protege. Mia's advocacy a foundation bearing her name. Travels beckoned. Bronx roots revisited, mom's hug fierce. European rambles, thrones glimpsed from afar, laughed off over croissants. Final chapter wrote itself gentle. Elena first to falter, hands too shaky for brushes, but Mia's lap became canvas, fingers painting skin in loops, eliciting chuckles and sighs, intimacy undimmed. Mia's nights grew restless, memories surfacing, Elena's stories lullabies chasing shadows. On a seawall bench, autumn gold gilding waves they sat, Luna's successor at feet, Echo's grandpups tumbling nearby. Best plot twist, Elena quipped, voice thin but warm, head on Mia's shoulder. Mia's kiss forehead soft. Our ending open infinite. Hands laced, rings worn smooth, they watch sunset bleed the sky. Love's arc complete. From forbidden spark to enduring flame. A tale proving hearts, not crowns, rule. In quiet after, as stars pricked velvet, Elena's breath evened last. Mia held on, grief a tide receding to peace, whispering wait for me into wind. Months later, joining in sleep serene, their story etched eternal. Not in tabloids but in lives touched, revolutions quiet sparked. Legacy bloomed. Foundation scholarships, murals citywide, book editions dog-eared in libraries. Young lovers paused at plaques. Here two women rewrote the world. And in that echo meaning endured love, defiant bloom from forbidden seed. Thorns guarding petals of grace.